a look at what we're going to make tonight. Now, this is our bag of the month. I've called it the all-in-one bag because it's a particular technique. I did do it a few years back, but I've adapted it a little bit, so it's a little bit different. But I know there will be lots of you who have never seen this done this way. And one of the things, okay, so I've got a cam snap as my fastener here, which is my go-to fastener these days. But you could use, if you have a green machine, you could put yourself a press stud on there. If you have clasps, you could use a magnetic clasp, but you just need to put the inner clasp on before you actually seal the top, if you see what I mean. Or you could put a clasp which fits onto the front of the flap, but there's always the second part that needs to go in before you close the whole of the top of the bag. And also at the sides, I have used cam snaps. So they are very strong. So I don't think this is what I've used on this occasion, a cam snap to hold my strap on. Now, because, let me just press that together. There we go. I like to think of all of you, and not everybody will have a green machine or a machine that will set rivets, but you can as well pop a rivet there if you want to. The other idea I had, again, if you have a green machine or an eyelet setter, you could put one of the slightly larger eyelets in the side of the bag and then put a swivel clasp onto the end of your strap and link it into the eyelet, which would also be very nice. So there are a few different ways of attaching your strap. Because of the way the bag is constructed, in actual fact, you could put a little tab in there as well before we do the final seam. But the other thing, why I've called it the all-in-one, is because the inside of the bag is lined all in one go. Okay, so let me see. Hello, Janet. Pauline. Yes, hello, Pauline. And let me just get this here. Oh, we're talking about the 3 years, which has gone so fast. Yes, on a roll for the next 3. Oh, my goodness, Jane. Yes, my mum keeps saying to me, I thought you were retiring at 17. I said, well, we'll see. We'll see. Hello, Vanessa. Okay, that's good. You've all got your PDFs from last month, so that is good. The new one, this is on there already. I've also put, that's right, I've also put 2 other options. There's a purple option and there's a blue option. I am going to make the purple option tonight, but I haven't made them all completely. But just as a little, if you imagine that, but in these blues, that is going to be a bag. So that's on the website. They are on at £15, but there is a discount code that will take £2.50 off. So it brings it down to £12.50 for the bag, which I don't think is bad at all. And you'll get everything you need to make the whole bag. Now, the one we're going to make tonight is purple. Now, this is the latest fabric, Tropicana. I think I showed you it. There was a jade version as well. So Tropicana, and this is the one, as I say, I'm going to make tonight. So it is rather lovely if you like your purples. It is rather scrumptious. Okay, so now the first thing I'm going to do is dip us down, because I do need, I do need to push the machine out of the way because I want to show you what we need to do next. So let's put that down. There we go. And let's just pop that underneath so that you can see. And let's take that out of the way. And let's see if we can push the machine back like so without pushing my iPad over. Well, we can but try. Okay, there we go. So there is my strip. So I didn't think that you would want me to sit here sewing strips together. So what we have is 10 strips. I've got 2 colours. I've alternated the strips. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's 10 strips all the way across. They are 1.5 inches wide. So this piece should measure 10.5 inches once they're all stitched together. Now, what I will say with this bag is, if it's not 10.5 inches, don't start trimming it. It doesn't matter. These are the whole width of the fabric. If you can see me, just take that is the whole width of the fabric. So I've stitched them together, and then I've just trimmed off the end, made sure that's straight. So when you are trimming off, what you need to do is line up, well, let's see if we do it like this, line up the lines on your ruler with your seams and get them, and then when you trim off the edges, you will have perfectly squared up ends. So you'll do that at both ends. Then you are going to fuse fusible fleece to the back, which I've done here. Now you can see mine, because there's a gap at the edge of fabric, it means that my stitching wasn't quite accurate, and it's a little bit more than 10.5 inches. But it doesn't matter. We will just use that edge as the edge of our bag, and there is our fusible fleece. Now, the important thing is as well, let's have a look. There's Joanna, and who else can I see? Carolyn. Hello, we've only just started, so don't worry. Oh, you're liking them. That's good. So the only thing that we need to do, absolutely do, is do not fuse wadding all the way to the edge. You want to leave about 1/2 inch at both ends. So there's my other end, and I've left fabric at that end too. So you want to have a flappy bit here with no wadding on. The wadding should go the whole way across, as I say, but mine, I think that was 10.5. I think I cut it. Let's just have a look. Yeah, I've cut my wadding 10.5. So when I've pressed it a bit wider. But as I say, it doesn't matter. And also what doesn't matter is the length. When you trim off the ends, it doesn't matter if, the measurement I haven't even bothered with. It could be 40, it could be 41. It could be, if you're very scrupulous, it could be 42, but I very much doubt it. But it doesn't matter. All it will do is make a very small difference either to the depth of your bag. So we're only talking perhaps 1/4 inch. You wouldn't even notice, or your flap will be slightly shorter or slightly longer. So don't worry about that. It's a very forgiving project. It's just a case, as I say, of stitching your widths of fabric together, and they are 1.5 inches wide. Now, what I'd also say, if you only want to do 5 fabrics, because the blue one has got 5 different fabrics there, so there's 5 in that, and I've just alternated them across, but you could actually do it with 4 fabrics, 2 fabrics, so that it's a 50/50 bag, or you could do 1 fabric 10.5 inches wide. But I thought, just to make it a little bit different, we'd do it with 5 or with 2 here. So we've got strips of that. Hello, Pollyann. Right, so once we've got our fusible fleece attached to the back of our fabric, you can see mine's a little bit longer there as well, but hey-ho. What we're going to do is we are going to fold it in half, and we do want it to be absolutely in half. So line up your fabric where the fabric excess is, line that up, and if you want to put a pin there, absolutely do. And then we are going to smooth it down. I'm going to push that a little bit further on. Okay. So we've smoothed that down so that we have our fabric folded in the middle. So I'm just going to, as I say, I'm going to make sure that the other end, those fabrics are matching. And when we have that fold, I'm going to make a little mark with a pen on that fold. So there is, or you could put a pin in there. Actually, let's put a pin. That might be easier because I think I marked it earlier and it wasn't quite in the center. So I'm putting a pin there, and we'll put a pin just there, right in that fold. And then we're going to open it out because we're going to draw. So let's just open that all out. And there is my mark. That is where my pin is. Take that out now. And that one too. And we are going to draw a line from one mark to the other. Now you can actually, let's move that back even a bit more. That's it. Yes, if you look at your lines on your ruler and make sure that's straight with the edge, you'll know that this line is going to be straight and the whole way across. So this is going to be hidden. You won't see it, but so you can draw with whatever marker you like. Now, have I used the correct one there? Can't remember whether I have. Let me just do that again. I was talking, whoops, and I didn't. Let's see, that's lined up, that's lined up. Oh, I have. Perfect. I've used the right line. So you will be in a bit more, with a bit bigger space than I've got, you'll be able to get that mark exactly in the center. So it's halfway from one end. So there's one end, it's halfway from this end and halfway from the other end. Next thing we're going to do is we are going to draw another line on each side. So we're going to have a line on each side of this center line, and it's going to be 4.5 inches away. So I'm going to line up the 4.5 on my ruler with the 4.5 on that line, and I'm going to draw another line here. So there is a line there, that's 4.5, and I want to draw this side as well. So let's just turn that around, line that up perfectly, and draw ourselves another line. Okay, so there we have center line, 4.5 inches away, 4.5 inches away. Right, what we're going to do now, what you'll notice here, and it really doesn't notice at all, the wadding is not 40 odd inches wide. So I've joined a bit here. You can see that fine line, but it's not going to make any difference to the bag. So now what we're going to do is we're going to turn it to the right side and we're going to fold each end in. Okay, like so. So we will be able to see a bit of fabric in the middle here, but what we're going to line up, because you're thinking, well, how do I know how far to fold it? We are going to line the top of the wadding here, so that the edge of the wadding with our line that was drawn at 4.5. So this line here. Now to make it easier, what we can do is if you put a pin in that line, and then we can line up that end of the wadding. So there's a flapping piece of fabric, end of the wadding, and then I can pop that through both. Okay, so the edge of the wadding there lines up with that drawn line. And we're going to do the same on the other side. So let's put a pin just in that drawn line. And then I can see quite easily the end of the wadding is there. So I can put the pin through both. Okay. Then the same at this side. We are going to look at that line there. Let's put a pin. Whoops, no, I'm telling fibs. Right, that's the center line. We want this line here. So this line, like so, and we're going to line up the edge of the wadding there. So just line that. So there's my pin. There's the end of the wadding. Whoops, let's do it this way. That's a lot easier. End of the wadding. And I might put my pin that way actually. And put that across there. And then similarly here, there is my line. So just make sure it's those, not the center line, it needs to be those outer lines. And then again, the edge of the wadding with the pin, which is that outside line. Okay, so that's what we have. We have 2 folds, can you see, with a space in the middle. Now what we're going to do is we are going to stitch. So we're going to be doing some stitching now. We're going to stitch from the edge of the wadding, so where that pin is, down this side seam, and we're going to do it on all 4 sides in exactly the same way. So let me just drag that back in, and now we can pop this under here. Oh, I think it's going to rain. So I can put my, whoops, there we go. Where is my, there it is. Put my knee lift back in. And as I say, so I'm going to have just a standard 2.5 stitch length, and I'm going to reverse from the beginning, reverse there, hold these edges together like this, and I'm just going to stitch all the way down to the fold, and I'm going to reverse at that end as well. So then I'm going to flip it around, and I'm going to do the other side as well. Now, I don't usually stitch from a fold, but I'm going to push that all the way down so that I know that fold is absolutely on the fold. And I'm going to do exactly the same, reverse there, 1/4 inch seam allowance, and we'll go up to that pin and reverse, take that pin out. There we go. So while we're on this side, I can do the same here. So again, where that pin is, and we're stitching 1/4 inch from the edge. Make sure your edges line up. Now, normally that would be on to fusible fleece, but as I say, mine wasn't quite exact. So we're just doing 1/4 inch from the fabric, which is fine. And then I'm going to do exactly the same. I'm going to swivel it around again and come along this other side. So just make sure that all lines up. Push that down to the fold, because I'm going to start from the fold edge, which, as I say, I don't usually like to do, but we can on this occasion. So 1/4 inch from the edge up to that pin. Oh, and we're raining. Okay. So now that I have a pocket at each side, looks strange, doesn't it? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to I'll make myself some little squares in the corner here. So with my ruler, I did 1 1/4 inch squares. So the 1 1/4 is going to be from this line, you aren't going to see, from this stitch line here. So here's my stitch line, and I am going to put my 1 1/4 on there, and then 1 1/4 on the fold. So let's just draw that from there. Similarly on this side also, just take that under there. So we have got, here is my stitch line. You can't see that very well, but there's my stitch line. And so we're having the 1 1/4 on the stitch line. There's my 1 1/4, 1 1/4 on the fold, and there. Now, rather than turn it back round again Actually, that looks a bit longer. Let's just see if I did that right. No, that is correct. What I'm going to do is cut this out. There we go. And we'll cut this out here as well. There we are. Didn't go quite to that bit. So there's one cut out. And there is two cut out. So we are going to do exactly the same at the other end. Just flip that around. And we'll do, there is my stitch line. So again, 1 1/4 from the stitch line and 1 1/4 from that fold at the bottom. So there is one. And then this side as well, 1 1/4, 1 1/4. And that's going to give us a perfect square for when we come to stitch these together, just like when we're doing a boxed bottom. Okay, so let's just trim that out. And then similarly here, and cut it on the line. Okay. So, oh, there's Christine. Hello, Christine. So, next thing. Here's our hole. Cut out corner. We're going to put our finger in there and we are going to flatten it. And look how perfectly that fits. Perfect. So, if we want to, let me get a little binding clip. If you want to pop your binding clip on there, just to hold it together, fits perfectly, and we can stitch across here. Now, as we always do, reverse at the beginning, straight across, and reverse at the side. And then the same on this side. Finger in the hole, it's quite easy that way. And then you can see that just opens out, folds together, and we can pop that under as well. And by reversing at the beginning and the end, it really does just hold that together perfectly, so you're not going to get any threads, any stitching that is going to undo and give you a hole in the bottom of your bag. So you see how, as I say, how easily and perfectly that fits, because we measured from the stitched line rather than just cutting across that corner for an exact square. We do from the stitch line, and that way it's a perfect square which flattens out easily. Okay, so the last one here, flatten that down. And again, and you can see how even though my wadding wasn't the right size as my fabric, it doesn't matter. Okay, so let's just pull that out a little bit so that does fit anyway, but because of that fabric in the middle, it was just pulling a little bit. Okay, so straight across, reverse at the end. And there we go. So now we have, I might just have to, let's go back and take this out of the way again. Okay, so what we have now is looks as though it could be a little pocket that hangs over your armchair, doesn't it? Pocket that side, there you go. You never know, do you? So we've got a pocket at each side. What we need to do now is fold this in half. So we've got the pockets on top of each other, and we are going to fold along. This was our centre line, if you recall. I'm going to fold along there and along there. So again, let's put a pin in there just to hold that nice and flat. And we'll put a pin here. Okay, so that is our top edge. Here is where our 2 pockets are. So at this point, what you'll notice is that then lines up just here. But what we need to do before we do any stitching or anything is we want to fold this little flap of fabric without wadding. We're going to fold that back onto the wadding, and we will put a pin to hold that out of the way. And similarly on this side, fold that back. Should be the same size, but it's going to work. There we are. So I've folded both of those pieces back and pinned it out of the way. So let's go on this one as well. So fold it over the wadding, out of the way. And similarly on that side, fold it over the wadding and out of the way. Oh, it's a big pin. And then when you fold it, the tops that I've just folded back do actually line up, and that is going to be the top edge of your bag. So I'm going to put another pin just there, because when we start stitching in a few moments, we're going to start from that very final pin, the pin here. So we'll put one this side as well. Let's just make sure that those, where the that folded back fabric, line that up. So I say that is going to be the top edge of your bag. So even though I've got those 2 pins in the holding the fabric back, I am going to put another one, which is basically that line that is drawn here, and then that lines up together. Now, depending, so this is actually within here is going to be your flap. Depending on what sort of flap you would like, you can either curve these corners, or you could cut them off, or you could just make them come in at an angle right from the tip here. I must say I like my curved corners. So if you have a circular tool of some sort, which fortunately I have got a circle here, and I am going to draw a line to curve this edge here. So let's just draw around there, and I'll draw around here. So it's not the biggest of curves. You could make it bigger if you want to, but I'm just going to curve around there. So you can see where I've drawn. We don't cut that off yet. The next thing we're going to do, we are going to stitch around here. So I'm going to use that curve as my outer edge. So I will be stitching within that curve that I've just made. So let's just bring this back in. Okay. And as I said earlier, we are going to start stitching from this pin, from this one with the orange head. And we will still be doing our 1/4 inch seam allowance. So it won't be on mine, on the fusible fleece, but on yours, it probably will be. So let's pop in the knee lift again, see if I can find that hole there. Okay, and take this over. Let's push my pin in there. And I'm starting right from, so a 1/4 inch from the edge, and I'm starting from this drawn line here. Okay, and I am going to reverse like I did before. That just holds it nicely. And then 1/4 inch. And as I said, I'm going to curve around. So there is my drawn line, but I'm using that as my outer edge. And then I'm also along the top edge, which is folded. I'm actually going along there as if it's the edge of my fabric. And then I'm going to come in around that curve as well and come back down this edge here. Okay. And I'm going to stop when I get to that drawn line. And you'll see there's stitching from when we stitched up the sides here. So I am going to reverse and back. Okay, so now you can either, we do need to trim this off, and rather than clipping into the curve, I like to trim closely. So I've trimmed to about between a 16th and an 18th of an inch from the stitching, and that way it's going to give me a nice easy curve without me having to clip into those seams. Okay, so what I can do now is take my pins out and take my pins out here. Now I have still got pins in here, so we can either be, no, I've taken them out actually, haven't I? Yeah, I've just taken the pins out. So now what we're going to do is, here, it's strange. This bit sticking out is my flap. So I'm going to pull that out first of all. So I'm pulling it through that gap there, and there is going to be my flap. Now, at this point, I can, one of these sides, so I've still got the two pockets. Can you see there's one pocket, two pockets. I'm going to turn one to the right side. So let's just pull that out. Whoops. Pull that out. Okay. And I'm going to put my hand into the gap. I'm just pushing my fingers into that corner. Make sure that those seams are done. Actually, I'm going to take this off again because so that you can see it a lot better. Okay, so there is my flap. It does look weird. There is one side that I've turned the right way. This other side, you don't need, you can turn it the other way, but you don't need to. So what I'm going to do now is put my hand in the flap, and then underneath you'll find there's the other flap. And I'm going to push this, so I'll grab the bottom, push it into the bag that is the right way. And all I'm doing, I'm pushing my fingers down to the bottom and pushing those into the corner. So you can see now, there we have our bag. So I've pushed this one into the bag. So all we need to do now is where I pinned this edge over, I'm going to go the whole way along, and actually it'll be easier with clips. I'm going to put some binding clips right along here. Oh, there's Jill. Hello, Jill. So let's just put, and because we've got that fusible fleece there, it just folds over naturally. Okay. So I'm just doing one side at the moment. It's easier just to do the outer edge. Just push those over just to the edge of the fusible fleece, like so. So I've got all of those, but I have still got a gap there. So what we'll do now is fold this one over onto the inside. And now you can line up, what should line up, your strips. Okay, so I've got that purple strip there, and I'll take that clip off and pop it over both. And then similarly here, just fold that back one in, line that strip up, fold the next bit in, and pop that, and then fold that in. So I'm just folding in this other edge here, and automatically those strips, as I say, will line up with each other. Take that one off. There you can see that lining up. And there. And let's take that off. Push that strip down so it's only over the edge of the fusible fleece. Line it up. Pop the clip on. Whoops, haven't got that done properly. There we are. And pop that on just there. And then this outside edge one, we can take that off, push that in, and align that edge also. So as long as, let's just push that in as well, as long as your strips are sewn together, let's just put one more over there. Okay, as long as your strips are sewn sort of fairly accurately, especially at the top, that's all going to fit together nicely. Can you see how I've gone all the way around there? And now all I need to do, oh, do you know what I didn't do? Let's see, I'm just going to roll that out. I should have put my, this is the flap here. Now I should have put either my stick or anything rounded around that edge to push that all out. But I've rolled it with my fingers now, and then you can push that into the lining. Can you see how the lining is all there? Push that in. Okay, like so. And as I say, just make sure that's all rolled out, and you can give that a press. So I am going to put, there we are, I'm going to put a few clips around this edge, because then I know that that is all pushed out at the seams, ready for top stitching around there, and also around here as well. Okay, so this is possible because I am going to do it now. It's easier now if you have a flatbed. If you have an accessory tray on the front of your machine, you can take that off so that this fits over the free arm. Unfortunately, my machine is not like that, so I'm going to take the table off and put it out of the way. But as I say, it is still possible, and we are going to do it on here. So let's just pull that in, and I'm going to start around here. So what we will do, I'm going to start actually at the side of the flap. It just makes it easier, and I'll show you how we'll do it. So I'm going to start at the side of the flap. I'm going to come just not too far in, but let me just push that back and bring that down a little bit so that you can see. So I'm just partly around the flap, and I've got my hand in the bag here. So I do like to have my knee lift on here. That's it. So, and I'm going to put my stitch length up to 3 because I like it to be a little bit longer. So on the edge, there we go. So we'll stitch down to what's going to be the top edge of the bag here. So just pull that out and flatten it down. So you've got like an in. Oops, let's just tuck that in as well. Where is my, I can see a bit of fabric. There we are. Tuck that down inside. So I'm going to stitch down to that corner point and then just ready. So now I'm going to lift the presser foot so that I can pivot this around. So now I've got the long top straight edge. So let's just pull that around so that I've gone around my flap, flatten that down so that we're ready to go along this top edge, and we are going to be sealing the top. So let me get my little bag there. So just keep pulling this round so we've got a nice long straight edge. Make sure your fabric is tucked in and they are beautifully aligned. Okay, so as I take it off, I'm also making sure that both of those edges are lined up, and then we can just pull it round a little bit further because we're working along this straight edge. So again, and nice and slowly does it, because there's nothing worse than having to go round for a second time because you've missed a bit. So all the way along the top there. And then, as I say, you just keep pulling a little bit more around of the top edge. And if you do have a free arm machine so that all of this can go round or over the free arm, it will be so much easier for you. It's only because I can't get this totally under the machine, but we can get around it. Now you can see here we're coming up to an inverted corner. And what we'll do is we'll just take that away, make sure that's tucked in, so we're stitching it, and we're going to come up to that corner, and just slightly past, so that now we can pivot that around to come around the top edge. I've got a little bit of thread coming there, that's all right, around the top edge of our flap. So this bit is easier because the whole of the flap is free. There we are. So nicely, just try and get that nice and even around there. And probably using a purple thread would have been a lot better, but I don't mind a bit of a contrast. So I've got an ivory contrast, and just making sure those edges are pulled out nicely, and then slowly around the curve, because we want this to be as even as we can. Might just lift that up just a little bit to come around there, and then we'll come to meet the starting point. And if we can go over those stitches that we started with, you won't be able to see where we started or finished. So let's just clip off those little bits of thread. There we go. And to be honest, you can't see where I started along there. You might be able to see on the back here, but I will just clip that off. Another nice pair of scissors. I must have found 12 pairs of little scissors from having none. I've got a little bit of thread just clipped off there. So there we have the top of our bag all. So I'm going to put my hands in here and push into those corners. And there we have our bag. And because we've got those strips, it's easy to line that up. It looks as though I've done something spectacular to line them up, but they do just work. So I am going to put a cam snap on. Now I know if I put it down there, this is my flap. I know because I have 10 strips, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I know the centre is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My centre is down here between the two. So I'm still going to put a little mark. Let's see, where should we? I'm going to have my cam snap just there. So I'm going to put a little mark there, and then I'm going to take my pliers. Okay, so here is my pliers, and I am going to put that on. So it will be on the seam, right in the centre. Clip that, and there is my little hole. Has it gone the whole way through? Yep. So there is my little hole. So I'm now going to get my pliers, and I have got my snaps, and I'm going to use purple ones. 1, 2, and 2 of those. Oh, I probably haven't got enough sets out, have I? Right, so I am using my outie here. So I'm going to pop that on the front and that one on the back. I'm going to put my snap just there. Whoops, that's moved. Okay, let's start again and hold it properly. There it is. And there. So I'm holding it with my thumb and finger. And I'm going to flip it over, actually. There we are. Let's flip it over so that I can see where that's going. I can see that is on. There we are. So that has sealed that properly. You can hardly see it, can you? It goes really, really well. So then I am going to fold this over. So just press that down, fold that over, and I know that's going to be there. I've lined those lines up, and then I am going to get a pen and see where my So it comes just there. So I'm going to put a little hole, a little mark just there, because I know that is where I'm going to punch my next hole. So I've lost it again now. Oh, down there, I see. Right, so down we go on that hole, press it. I usually give it a little swivel round and then it comes out. And then I want my other part to come up into that hole, which hasn't gone in the right place. I should be getting it in that hole. There we go. Note down a little bit. There it is. Okay, so the points come out there. I'm going to put my little snap on there, and then I'll put this under, get that in, and make sure that is in the right place, and squash. And there's my second part done. Okay, so there we are. So that is now made with and you can see how that all lines up just how we want it to. You could put two if you wanted to, one at each side. Now the side, what I've done, I have already made my handle, okay, and that is going to sit just at the side here. So just there, I've made the hole in that side, but I just need to make a little hole here. So I will just open that out, and taking into account that that's going to come on the seam line there. Let's just have a look. So I have punched a hole, and I'm going to just lay that on the side, and we'll put a little hole, a little mark just to the side. Whoops. I'm going to have it going just about there. So let's just find, whoops. I couldn't do this little bit before because we needed to. So I've done it just round a little bit slightly than the seam. So we'll do one just there, and then similarly just here, just around from the to the side of the seam, make that little hole. And then if we get the snaps we have here, and we want for the let's just put our snap on the front. Whoops. So that is going to just be on that end. I'll put that on first of all, and then just make sure right at the other end we've got it in exactly the same way, otherwise it will be twisted. So that one can come in there and there. So let's just pop that in. And then what we need is do more of these, which I didn't get out. So on the sides here, we need, whoops, on the sides we need to have that coming in from underneath. Just press that through. So it is coming through a couple of layers there, but let's have a look, see where that hole is. Just there, that's better. So we've got that coming through, and then we want the innie going onto there, and pop that underneath, and that on the top, and press that one. And then we need the one on the other side where we made the hole, whoops, just here. So that one is coming through, oops, no, not there. Easier to look from the other side. Oh. Okay, that's it, we'll get that one in there, into the top. hard to see when I have, there we are. There's the hole. Pop that on the top. Just looks a little bit different. Let's just see if, oh no, that's right. There we go. So from the inside, just hold it and make sure the little pointy bit goes into the centre. Make sure the cap is in there. This is just a really nice, easy way of adding a strap. And as I say, it actually will bear a fair bit of weight, and then we'll just pop that in there and then around to the other side. And hopefully I'll put that on the same way. And that is on there. So there is your bag attached. If you wanted to make it a crossbody, you can do your usual thing, putting the slider clasp on, and still then, whoops, oh, get it on top, there we go. But there is your bag, just like that. Okay, so we've done. Wasn't that easy? There it is. A little bit different. I think, there we go. Not difficult at all. Could do with a little bit of a press, but it's got a nice bit of body. Whoops. Just making that. That's it. Didn't look straight on there, but it is straight. Nice bit of body. Let's have a look, see if I can see. Whoops. Nearly dropped that as well. Whoops. Oh no, it has gone. There we go. There we go. So, that is how it is. It looks a lot. Leslie likes it. Yeah. It is nice. Now, the other thing as well, if you wanted to use it as a clutch bag or just a bag, you don't need to put the straps on if you don't want to. Or you could just put a small strap, or you could actually put a little strap attached to the top. So it's like a little carry. Yep. And you love the bag in these fabrics. I know, they are lovely. Did I not show you... Did I show you them? It is a different way, isn't it? It was a long time ago. That's right. So the fabrics, let me see. So I've got those. So those two fabrics, as you can see, are lovely. Now, in here, this is basically sideways on, but I don't really think it matters. It is a little bit Tula pink. Let's just see. The other one, did I not show you these the other day? So the other one is jade. So there's one with butterflies on, which is lovely. And then this one here is in the jade option, as opposed to the purple. There we are. So I didn't put that... as an option on the bags, but I could if it's something that you would like. But you can see how that would go as well, really nicely together. So the purple or the jade options. And I don't believe I put them on the website yet, but I will. Or unless I have. No, I think I have put them on the website. I feel I have. But there we go. Oh, good, glad. Oh, I have put them on, and I did show you. Oh, that's all right. But yes, I just love this. I thought this would go perfectly for the handles, for the strap. But that is lovely as well. I did show them to you. I thought I had, but then I thought, well, perhaps I didn't, because I gave some ladies a sneak preview before I did. Indeed, they are. So as you see, this was the Tropicana range. This was from Golden. So there are a red option and a green option, and they're on the website too. So these fabrics are already on the website, and long quarters, I think they're in 2.5 meters of these two that go together. And these are in 2.5 meters, and that will be ample to make this bag. In fact, you could make lots, absolutely lots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, you can. Let's see, you can't quite make 2. But if you wanted to make it smaller, so that's the other thing with this bag and its flexibility, versatility. If you didn't want it as wide, only do it 6 strips long or wide, or 7. I would still have the whole width of the fabric, but if you didn't want it as deep, don't use the whole width of fabric. Do 3/4 of the width of fabric, and less strips. So the same technique though of adding your fusible fleece to within 1/2 inch at each end, but then just marking. You'd mark the centre line, and then perhaps only mark 3.5 inches or 3 inches from the centre line on each side, and just see what shapes you get. It will be different to this because this is what comes out. This is about, what did I think? 3 to 2.5 by 9 by 9. So 9 by 8, 9 by 8 by 2.5. So you've got a nice depth there. And the sides of the bags are both different. Oh, it looks like we've got palm trees there and coconuts. Okay, so, oh, thank you, Patricia. And yeah, it's different, isn't it? That's what I like. And I say, I do know, I did do this some while ago, slightly different, but the same sort of technique. And I know many of you won't have seen that. So I thought I'll bring it back to you, because at the end of the day, we all need to know everything all the time, don't we? And so many options, as I say, with one pattern. You've got the flap that you can do differently as well. You could do it in all one fabric if you wanted to, rather than doing it strippy. Okay, I will leave that with you. Number 1, number 2, and this will be a project for another day in my blues. I'd best make that up, hadn't I? But this one is Sewing Bird, and I thought that would look really nice as well. But so many options. As I say, the kits are available, but you've probably got enough fabric in your stash that you don't need them. But saying that, this fabric is lovely. So thank you, Tony, and thank you, Pollyanne. I'm going to love you and leave you. Thank you for joining me tonight. I will be back on Thursday and Friday. And, oh yes, so on Thursday, where have I put? I don't know where I put it now, but I'm going to do that lovely little hexagonal triangular placemat. I've got it a table mat because I'm doing it in an even smaller size than that one is. And then on Friday, I'm going to show you the quilted hug. I have yet to make it, but I am going to show you that and tell you when we'll be doing the sew along. So take care of yourselves, enjoy the rest of your evening, and I'll see you on Thursday. Bye for now.